All right, folks. John Reed, JohnnyERP.com and JDOD.com with John Appleby of Bluefin Solutions at the home office. What's up?
Hey, how we doing? This is our second go, isn't it? And you told me that the first go wasn't good enough for a JDOD, so we're going to have another run and
Yeah,
see if you
well,
see how you like it.
the first one was a botch job. I'm using some new Skype software, and there was a glitch, and it's too bad because I thought you were brilliant in the first shoot. So you have a lot to live up to. But anyhow, I think I could have improved my take, so I'm looking forward to take two. Hey,
Uh,
do you have your mug to show to the
yeah,
peeps?
well, this is sponsored by Sybase and SAP company or something. I've heard that this is a vintage, and this will be worth thousands of dollars if it doesn't rust and rot like most software companies do. So let's hope.
Now, is that mug HTML5 compliant?
Well, it's got a hole in the bottom, if that's what you mean. It drips slowly. I mean, I don't know. It actually came from a Sybase conference in London that they ran. Prior to the acquisition, they were giving out mugs, and I stole some. So I've got one at work and one at home, which is why we can still have the Sybase mug with us today.
All right, so the purpose of this video is the ASUG Sapphire 2011 Appleby Read Conference Preview Edition. John and I have charted out some exciting topics. Top of the list is Sting. We were talking about Sting and a whole tweet fest that went on around how Sting might be able to customize some of his songs to meet the SAP constituent need. What were some of the highlights there?
Well, this came from the Lifehouse vibe in TechEd last year, where they were kind enough to say how wonderful and amazing a company that SAP was, and how it wasn't at all the corporate stiff they were expecting. And I remember that you said that Sting could do message in the bottle for a message that involves enhancement packs. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I was thinking that, instead of just saying, yeah, SAP, it would be cooler if Sting could customize it more so he could dedicate Can't Stand Losing You, which is a vintage Police song, to those who are looking for OSS notes that they can't find. And then, what was the one that VJ had?
Oh, VJ came up with "Perfect Love Gone Wrong" as a kind of homily for NetWeaver Java. Could work. I don't know. And Merv as well. He thought that it was just driven to tears, but poor Merv.
Well, hopefully we won't be driven to tears if we get these burning questions answered. So there are some issues that are really getting to the top of the curiosity factor as we head into the conference. Let's start with HANA in memory. Why is the HANA in memory story so important right now, and what's going on there?
Well, I mean, to coin a Sting phrase, that I think SAP is playing this out to be fields of gold. So it's nice, wasn't it? We're talking about pipeline figures. SAP are talking about wanting to do $100 million US dollars of sales this year. This is a number that we keep hearing, right? And I know McDermott has said recently that he's talking about an increase in unweighted pipeline of $10 million a week or something like that. And maybe that's only one or two big deals, but they're talking about wanting to shift a lot of product for a product which, of course, hasn't as yet been released yet. It's not on the SAP price list, really.
Well, right. I mean, the thing that we can get into with HANA is that there's been such incredible claims in terms of the revenue that HANA is going to produce for SAP this year, and no doubt, if companies do buy it, it comes with a hefty price tag, so potentially it could sell a lot. But the concern that I've had is that the last time I saw HANA at a conference and talk with customers, it had to do with real alpha customers that were just trying to figure out what they were going to do with HANA in production, and there was no real discussion yet. So I guess what I'm curious about, John, is where are we going to land at Sapphire? Are we going to see these broader proclamations, or are we going to get more focused on particular use cases for HANA?
I think it depends how you want to look at it, right? I mean, HANA was a design in March 2010. That's a little over a year ago. It was announced very, very confidently by a very confident Hasso Plattner in May 2010 at Sapphire last year. They delivered product in November, December of last year into beta ramp up, and they're looking to go live productive with it next week. I think they're talking about going live with HANA just after Sapphire in a couple of weeks' time. So in product development terms, it's incredible, right? To turn a product around in 14, 15 months from nothing to something which is saleable and fantastic. But what they did as well in that is they bigged it up. And they bigged it up hugely in SAPPHIRE of last year. I mean, they said that you weren't going to need Oracle anymore. You were going to replace Oracle with HANA, and you didn't need a data warehouse, and this was a vision. And this is what people are expecting SAP to deliver next week in some ways. And as you know, the reality is a little bit different to that.
So where are we in terms of apps? Like, I know there's been a few. Oh.
Oh dear, do we have a fail?
That was Justin TV. That was actually an article that I had called up on HANA has a lot. SAP has a lot riding on its upcoming HANA Ops, and I wanted to ask you about that because that's one way that SAP is trying to make HANA more user-friendly out of the gate, is to issue applications that can be run on top of HANA. So what are your thoughts on that?
I thought that was your video playing back another failure of our videotape, so I guess we're good. So what do I think about it? Well, today, HANA 1.0, which is what's going to be released in the market in a couple of weeks' time, is an analytics engine. It's nothing more, it's nothing less. It's potentially a very good analytics engine. But what it doesn't have is the rich business content that the NetWeaver BW product set has as a data warehouse. It is not a strategic data warehouse replacement. It is effectively a point solution. With that point solution is coming, I guess, what we could call a new breed of business content, which we're going to call HANA Apps for the sake of, I don't know what SAP marketing are going to call them. We'll call them HANA Apps. And I believe they've got about 10 of these scheduled, things like trade promotion management, things like that. Some are vertically aligned, some are horizontally aligned. And we're told there's going to be about 10 by the end of the year. We don't know how light they're going to be. We think they may be a little light. We don't know how easily customizable they're going to be. We hope they're going to be easily customizable. And we don't exactly know how relevant they are to the SAP customer base yet, although I know it's been done in conjunction with them. If it goes well, and I'm hopeful that it will, we'll be able to take these HANA apps as context for specific businesses. It'll be obvious which ones they need, and we'll be able to tailor them pretty easily and deliver pretty quick time to value for in-memory apps where they get their analytics at the speed of thought.
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm hoping to see is that I really want a focus on use cases that are realizable for customers. I'm hoping that SAP will back off a little bit from its more extravagant claims around what HANA can do and really hone in on oh wow, my video is coming in and out now.
Yeah, your video is a little sucky, but we'll run with it.
Yeah, basically I'm hoping SAP can hone in on the use cases that we're looking to see, as far as if you build up enough customers who can advocate for how they've applied HANA to realistic engagements, as opposed to just talking about, say, speed. And this is an issue that I wanted to get into with you, as far as there's been a lot of focus on the speediness of HANA, and I've heard from user groups I talked to where they're hoping SAP will expand the discussion beyond just the speed of the appliance and into more business relevant context that may go beyond just the speed of data processing. What are your thoughts there?
Well, as you know, I called Jonathan Becker, who's now the CMO of SAP, out on this in February at one of the conferences, and I said, listen, this speed thing's all very well. Where are the business cases? Where are the usage types? Where's the value? Where are the customers? And he said, listen, right now we're focusing on speed as a message. It's the first message that we want to give. The business cases will come in SAPPHIRE. So for me, Jonathan and SAP get some time on this. We'll see what messaging comes out at SAPPHIRE. We're told there's going to be real-world customers there who have implemented it. We're told that there will be business cases. If that's the case, then SAP have done a great job.
All right, well, let's switch over to the topic that is most relevant to your mug that you're drinking out of now, which is there's a lot going on with mobility at SAPPHIRE and a lot of expectations. Why is this a critical conference for SAP when it comes to mobility?
Well, I mean, as we know that in SAPPHIRE of last year, SAP acknowledged that they were acquiring Sybase. And it was a very uncomfortable time back then because they were in the quiet period, the FCC quiet period, where they couldn't talk about the acquisition. So nobody could say anything, which is a little bit uncomfortable. So we've acquired this company. It's great, but that's all we can say. Or we plan to acquire this company because they had to be authorized. So SAPPHIRE 2010 was an uncomfortable time. And they spent a lot of money on Sybase, right? Billions and billions of dollars. And the city analysts are a little bit nervous. They want to know where the product is. They want to know where the sales pipeline is for SAP. And they kind of would like some customer success stories. And up until now, SAP haven't delivered a platform really to which to deliver. They've delivered the Sybase on Wire platform version 1.5. It is it's okay. The tooling is a little bit immature. The ability to push out to multiple devices is not as rosy as you think it should be. And from what we've seen of the early product roadmaps of what we should see rolled out in SAPPHIRE, I'm hopeful that we're going to see something really nice. And again, SAP get a little bit of a stay of execution on this one. Let's see what happens. I'm hoping that we're going to see the HTML5 containers where we can push out online apps to different devices in anything that supports HTML5. And I'm hoping that we're going to see the native online connectivity back to Project Gateway, which is SAP's REST-based services layer. And if that's the case, you're going to be easily able to build these instant value apps and easily able to build online apps without all the complexity of the infrastructure that you had to have before. And if they get that right, I think it's going to be a real selling point in the market, really easy to build mobile apps.
Now, John, you're one of those who has been giving SAP a little bit of a rough time the last few conferences for a lack of Sybase presence in terms of executives and product leaders. What's going on there? Why have you been such a rock in SAP's shoe on this issue?
Well, I made the point a couple of times, which is if there's one, you're laughing at me now, but if there's one thing that SAP does really well, it's senior exec level attention. And you've seen the keynotes for SAPPHIRE. McDermott will be there, Jim Schneider, the two chief execs will be there, the CTO will be there, the chairman of the advisory board will be there. All of the senior execs will be there at the conference, and they'll meet with customers, they'll meet with senior people. We haven't seen that yet of Sybase. We haven't seen that of John Chen. We haven't seen that of his senior exec. And I believe that from a leadership perspective, we need to see that at these conferences. We'll see if we see them here this time. I'm hopeful that we will. I know that we'll see some of the eponymous Raj Nathan, who is a YouTube rock star. It's well worth looking up. He's their chief marketing officer, effectively, for the Sybase piece. But yeah, we need to see leadership from those guys.
My final mobility question for you is just talking with mobility partners and getting a sense of that landscape. It seems to me that the Sybase acquisition opened up a lot of opportunities in terms of building on SAP's platform, but it also raised a ton of tricky, disruptive questions for vendors who were already perhaps approaching SAP's platform as if there was no such thing as a Sybase SAP integration. And so they were kind of thrown into temporary confusion and redirection of their strategy. And so what kinds of questions SAP can be able to answer there, because they're going to need help from these mobility partners. They need to build a vibrant ecosystem of developers and partners around mobility. What's going to happen there?
It's actually a really interesting point, and it's something that I didn't make in my first one, which was when the acquisition came through, the European Commission actually reached out to me to talk about this. And we talked about the consequences from a monopolies and merger perspective of what the Sybase acquisition would be. And I think it's pretty much as I predicted to them. For Cyclo, it was a serious issue because they're building on the SAP platform. And Cyclo, to their credit, have done the smart thing, and I respect Rich Padula of Cyclo for having done this. They've said, look, we've got our own platform. We're going to continue for other non-SAP platforms to doing what we're doing. For SAP customers, we'll integrate with SAP the Unwired platform. We'll integrate with the Sybase roadmap, and we'll use their ability to do orchestration and to push out to devices. What we're not going to use, however, they said, is we're not going to use the NetWeaver mobile product, which SAP appeared to be quietly sunsetting anyway, which is fine. And we're going to use our existing cyclo-agentry platform to do the orchestration. And I think that's really smart. What exactly it means for the other niche players, I'm less clear, but I think for people like Sky Mobile or Click or any of the other 100 smaller mobile vendors, those guys have got apps which they'll sell or not sell on the basis of what they've got now, and they will probably also develop on this SAP platform for SAP scenarios as well. But I think that's actually a positive message for all those vendors.
All right, John. So here's another hot topic coming up at ASUG Sapphire. BI 4.0. Did you place a bet on whether BI 4.0 would be announced as generally available at Sapphire or not? Do you have some money on the line here?
Well, listen, John, look, I offered the bet to anyone, but no one would take it. Look, BI4 is not coming out next week, as far as I can tell. It's not quite ready yet, and I think it's a smart thing to do to delay a product. If it's not ready, don't get it out the door. SAP have a habit, particularly in December, of pushing product out the door for Q4 so they can try and make some sales. They did that with NetWeaver BW 7.3. I think it was a release short of being able to regression test for release before they released it. I think it would have been smarter to wait another month. So the fact that they pushed BI4 out by a month, I think, should be seen as a positive thing. A lot of people are really talking about going for BI 4.1 at the end of the year anyway. There's a perception that, as you've talked yourself before, the lack of SDK for BI4 makes it a little bit not quite ready for release.
So when we think about BI4, SAP has definitely made some pretty powerful statements about this release, and I want to understand how much of it is hype and how much of it is for real. One of the big things SAP talks about here that I know you can sort out for me is the semantic layer, and basically how the semantic layer will liberate business users to be able to create their own self-service BI and not have that IT chokehold where they can't get the information they need. Do you think that's valid, and do you think the semantic layer is a big deal, or is it just another happy talk phrase?
So, listen, I think that in the first instance, SAP weren't smart about their marketing strategy for BI4. They really laid it out on the line. They said that this was going to be the best thing since sliced bread. It was like having wheels round rather than square. It was incredible. It was a game. Do you remember the words game changer? I think they may have said that.
I heard at least one person say it was the most important release in the history of BI. Though, to be fair to SAP, I don't think that was their official tagline.
And anyway, however you look at it, it was better than the woman in the coffin going to Sapphire, right? Anything was better than that particular YouTube video. So listen, that was a Sybase video for those not a BI video, and they bigged up BI4 in a big way. The launch party was about a month ago. It was a big party. They held the champagne on ice. They're still holding it on ice. That said, there are some things like the semantic layer, which I think do positively change the products. The semantic layer allows you to take an example. You have a data warehouse here, and you have some other information here, and they are taxonomically similar, and you want to connect them together. And you can do that without going through the complexity of building the data warehouse infrastructure layers and business logic at that layer. You can do it in BI4, and it can be done by a BI4 analyst rather than a very expensive data warehouse engineer. And I think that there are usage types for which that is really, really good. And the same with the improved usability of BI4. Is it a game changer? Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Well, John, we're about 19 minutes in, and I continue to float in and out a little bit of the video spectrum, but I think our audio is good. So it seems like since we've prattled on this long, we might as well hit OnDemand before we wrap up, because it would be unfair to leave it out. Now, what are you looking for in terms of OnDemand at ASUG Sapphire?
Oh yeah, we're remiss not to talk about OnDemand once we've hit the other topics. So what do we expect at ASUG Sapphire? So first of all, OnDemand is not my personal primary area of focus, because SAP's OnDemand strategy is predominantly focused towards the small, medium enterprise, and I'm focused towards large enterprise. That said, I think it's a very interesting topic because I think, as I said before, SAP is basically betting its future on ByDesign. It's betting its nest egg on ByDesign. The investment that it's putting into it is substantial. And when we hear subliminal messaging around R4 or Business Suite 8 or whatever you want to call it, ByDesign is core to that, and they are building out a whole product strategy around this, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, and I do think we're going to see a lot from SAP from ByDesign, because that's one area where they do have some mature customers they can bring out, and I suspect they're going to position some of that also in terms of the subsidiary play, because that's where it ties in more with the large enterprise concerns of those that attend the conference. So does that mean anything to you in your world?
Well, I'm hoping it means that you're going to be able to buy some skull candies rather than that wonderful headset that you're wearing at the minute. But I'm not so sure. So for those watching, Skull Candy is SAP's kind of #1 reference site for ByDesign. Look, if they don't have ByDesign reference customers, are they about 300 or so at the minute? I think there are several hundred ByDesign customers. Nothing like the number of Business One customers. I think it's a great story. ByDesign isn't for every business. It's a little bit light in terms of business process. They're still building it out. I think that SAP have got some way to go around their agile methodology. They need to get to more release drops of functionality, and they need to make the release drops less disruptive. That said, from what I understand of Salesforce.com, it's not necessarily so rosy over there when they're doing release updates either. So I think they've all got similar challenges.
So in terms of Sales on Demand, which is the line of business application that is heading towards general availability, do you plan on kicking some tires there, giving it a whirl, pretending like you're a salesperson for a few minutes on the pod there on the show floor?
It depends whether I can get you away from the pod, John. But I mean, as you know, the EVP John Wookie that just left SAP, that was his baby, was Sales on Demand. They wanted to call it CRM on Demand, and thankfully somebody said, well, actually, it's not really CRM, is it? It's just sales. And that's okay. And it's a little bit light, but from what I can see, it does what it does well. And as you've said in the past, it focuses around user experience first and functionality second, agile drops of functionality. I'm pretty hopeful it's going to be quite interesting. And I know that we're looking at it for some departmental IT situations where we have a central instance of CRM, and it's not appropriate to roll that out across the business. The real question is not CRM on demand, though. The real question is what happens after CRM on demand. These line of business apps, how quickly can they drop these things out there? How quickly can they release them to market? And how quickly can they expand the footprint of the CRM or sales on demand?
I think that's a big one. Another big one is how successful is the quote-unquote design thinking approach that they are using for these applications in terms of these socialized roles. I mean, they designed Sales on Demand built on a social approach to, oh, there I go, I'm in the dark. I'm back. A social approach to what a salesperson does every day. And I thought the approach looked effective, and it will be interesting to see if customers feel the same way as they take a closer look at this. And if so, will that impact the rollouts of these other on-demand apps for line of business? How quickly will they be able to roll them out? And as far as CRM is concerned, SAP has said that they don't have any immediate plans to expand into service, but it is on the radar screen. I'm hopeful that they will, because I think a more comprehensive CRM suite on demand would resolve a lot of questions for customers and also help clear up the CRM roadmap, which hasn't been totally clear in recent years. So
I think even if we talk about the order to cash process, which is kind of key to that, even before you get to service, CRM on demand doesn't even cover the whole of order to cash. So they've even got to expand there a little bit first. The marketing stuff is very light. We've got to see where they go to from a process perspective. But so just to come back to your point a little bit on the user-driven experience, this is not something which is new to CRM, and it's part of our CRM methodology, for instance, to integrate a day in the life of. We go and interview the people, we go and follow them around, we dictate out on paper what they've been doing, and we build that into a process of how they're going to approach integrating with CRM sales, even on premise. And so I think it's the real proof in CRM on demand will be in the pudding. Is it fully functional enough with what's been delivered to deliver an average day in the life of the salesperson? And that really remains to be seen.
All right, well, if we can get 2/3 of these questions answered at the conference, I think SAP will have done its job, and we'll leave with glowing tributes.
Absolutely.
So before we wrap up, maybe just a quick tip, John, for the viewers on anyone who's attending the show in Orlando, any recommendations once you're on the ground there?
Well, I've only had a cursory look through the schedule. I remember from my experience last year, and you know, as bloggers, we're kind of dragged around to meet various people anyhow. For me, one of the real highlights was the keynotes on each day, and I can see that this year it's going to be similar. There's 3 pretty decent keynotes, and I'm hoping that Vishal's keynote in particular is going to be fun. I'm hoping that he's going to get the demo dollies out on stage, and we're going to see some stuff. The other thing which I saw, which looked really interesting, was the demo pods, which I think is a little bit new based on last year's experience. And they've got a few which I saw that looks of interest. So they've got internal IT showing what's going on. SAP's internal IT team are actually going to be demonstrating what they're doing in terms of innovation for SAP's own internal IT systems. And hopefully it's going to be more than poor Martin Lang, who was seen hacking an SAP's life system last night. Martin, I'm teasing. I saw Sybase have got an interesting one where they've got an SAP mentor app that they've built on the Unwired platform. I think that's going to be interesting to see. And I know Cyclo have got a similar thing as well in mobility. So I think that a number of the pods are going to draw a lot of attention with people wanting to get their hands on.
Speaking of disrupting websites, I read or heard a rumor that there's going to be an InnoJam at the event, which might give you another opportunity to bring down the community network.
Oh, come on. It was only for, what, 6 hours last time? And it was unfortunate. I clicked a wrong button. But yeah, I did. Allegedly, I did crash the community network whilst the senior vice president of community network was in the room.
I don't think it would be a big deal if the community network went down for 6 to 8 hours during Sapphire. I can't see the problem there.
Yeah, people weren't so happy during TechEd. It caused some consternation.
Yeah, well, that to me is a little bit of the risk that the new SAP is taking. They're exposing more live systems to that kind of trial. Obviously, they don't want to open the door to that kind of thing happening, but I actually do like the fact they're willing to go without a net a little longer. And if they do that at Sapphire, if nothing else, we should have a great week.
Yeah, and from an internal IT perspective, I would love SAP to show some more transparency on what they're doing there. You know, let us in. Let's see what you're really doing. Let's see the value. You tell us that you're using the EPM platform to do planning and forecasting. Show us how you're using it on your mobile devices, showing how you're forecasting sales pipelines. Let's see that stuff.
All right, well, before I blip out for the 20th time during the shoot, I think we might want to quit while we're ahead here, but I appreciate you walking the plank of the initial Skype video shoot here.
Oh, you're very welcome, and I think maybe you just did cut out your...
Oh, yeah.
No, thanks, John. It's been a pleasure as always, and well, now you can see me at home on my sofa, so...
Yeah, I got to see your cube and your sofa in one day's shoot, so thanks for that. Thanks for that glimpse into your world.
Okay, thanks, John.
All right, see you at Sapphire.
You too.